In the vast expanse of the cosmos, a ravenous force approaches, its hunger insatiable, its purpose singular. This is the tale of the Tyranids, a cosmic horror that threatens to devour all life in its path. Brace yourselves, for the galaxy's greatest predator has awakened, and it hungers for us all. The Tyranids are not native to our galaxy. They have journeyed across the unspeakable cold of the void, where time and space conspire to hold the stars apart with inconceivable distances. Yet these bioengineered monstrosities crossed this expanse nonetheless, moving through the empty darkness for countless millennia to reach the rim of our galaxy. Their arrival heralds a new age of terror, for they bring with them an appetite that knows no bounds. Who can say for sure what could compel an entire species to make such a venture? Perhaps the Tyranids have already consumed everything of worth in their home galaxy and must find new feeding grounds or starve. It is possible that they have been preying on galaxies since time immemorial, and ours is but the latest to feel their predations. Some have even speculated that the Tyranids are in flight from an even greater threat, be it a cosmic disaster or another fearsome alien menace, and have risked the nothingness between galaxies rather than face extinction. Whatever the truth, for the Tyranids to have endured such a voyage must have required utter single-mindedness and unimaginable energy. During their journey, they slumbered in a state of frozen hibernation, but now they have arrived, they have awoken, and they are hungry. Their appetite is a cancer eating at the very fabric of our existence, advancing deeper with each passing decade, leaving drained, dead worlds in its wake. The first recorded contact between the Imperium and the Tyranids places their appearance in the eastern fringes of the galaxy in 745 M41. However, whispers among the Ordo Xenos of the Inquisition suggest possible sightings of this Xenos species as far back as the 35th millennium. They emerged from the intergalactic space of the local group of galaxies, their hive mind drawn to the Milky Way by the psychic beacon of the Astronomicon transmitted by the Emperor's presence in the warp from Terra. The first officially recorded encounter with the Tyranids came during an attack on an ocean world called Tyran. From there, Hive Fleet Behemoth continued directly towards the center of the galaxy, consuming all the worlds in its path. The Tyranids were defeated, barely, by the efforts of the Ultramarines chapter of the Space Marines during the Battle of McCrag. Although the Ultramarines suffered devastating losses that would take centuries to replace. In 942 M41, a chilling discovery was made on the ice world of Nusquamph Tormentibus. Commissar Chiaphas Kane unearthed hibernating Tyranids buried deep in the permafrost, apparently carried to the planet by a hive ship that had crashed 7 millennia earlier, prior to any human colonization. The swarm, and subsequently the hive mind, were awakened, but ultimately defeated. This revelation unsettled the Inquisition, suggesting that the Tyranids may have developed a presence in the galaxy even before the start of the Age of the Imperium. It remains unknown whether this crashed bioship was on a scouting mission when it was lost, a casualty in a pre-imperial Tyranid invasion force defeated by unknown adversaries, or part of a grand design by a Tyranid superintelligence that may have seeded the galaxy with many such slumbering broods. The implications are as terrifying as they are vast. In 993 M41, the Tyranids returned with Hive Fleet Kraken, employing a new strategy. Instead of assaulting its targets as a single-massed Hive Fleet, it split into countless smaller fleets, each enveloping whole star systems before reinforcements could arrive. The brunt of this new attack was borne by the Space Marine chapters known as the Scythes of the Emperor and the Lamenters. The former chapter was almost completely destroyed, though the backbone of the Hive Fleet was broken by its defeats at the Battle of Ikafor and at the Aldari craftworld Eondan. The cost to the Imperium was still great, and many splinter fleets broke off to later wreak havoc deep within Imperial space. Only a few Terran years later, in 997, M41, Hive Fleet Leviathan unexpectedly appeared from below the plane of the galaxy, attacking from 2 points and cutting off large portions of the galaxy from reinforcements. As the defenses of the Segmentum Solar, and perhaps Terra itself, seemed on the verge of being tested, the Tyranids were diverted into the star system of the powerful Orc Empire of Octerius. While the Orcs managed to stall the main Tyranid Hive Fleet's advance in what has become known as the Octerian War, tendrils of the Leviathan have already begun to re-emerge from these battles, victorious and stronger than ever after having absorbed potent Orcoid genetic material into their own genetic pool. In the final days of the 41st Millennium, the bulk of Hive Fleet Leviathan moved to consume Baal, the homeworld of the Blood Angels chapter. The Blood Angels called a gathering of all their successor chapters, the Sanguinary Brotherhood, most of whom sent forces to aid the defense of their Primarch's adopted home. But the sheer size of the Leviathan fleet threatened to overwhelm all the sons of Sanguinius. As the Great Rift tore open reality, warp storms ravaged the Bol system even as its worlds faced the Leviathan. Upon Bol itself, the battle between Blood Angels and Tyranids raged on. But the vast Leviathan fleet orbiting Bol was pulled apart by the empiric storms and devoured by the madness of the warp. Demons invaded the moon of Bol Prime, annihilating a great portion of the Leviathan's invasion swarms. They were led by Kaibonda, the ancient nemesis of the Blood Angels, who had determined that he and he alone would be responsible for the destruction of the Blood Angels. As the warp-spawned insanity of the Great Rift's birth finally began to wane, the principal fleet of the resurrected Primarch Roboot Guilliman's Indomitus Crusade arrived at Baal, assisting the few surviving Blood Angels in the extermination of the isolated Tyranid ground forces. Baal was saved during the campaign, remembered as the devastation of Baal, but at the cost of almost the entire Blood Angels chapter. In the latter days of the 41st Millennium, the galaxy-wide cataclysm of the Great Rift tore a ragged wound across real space, signaling the beginning of a new age of darkness, the era Indomitus of the Age of the Imperium. Further warp storms followed, rippling across the galaxy, spilling the raw matter of chaos into the material realm in ever-increasing quantities. This ongoing corruption of the galaxy spells potential disaster for the hive mind. Tyranid hive fleets require vast stockpiles of organic matter to power their galactic assaults. The mutable, inconstant psychic energy of chaos provides none of this vital sustenance. With every passing season, more planets and systems are swallowed up by the roiling tide of empiric madness, denying the Tyranids the precious biomass that sustains them. Yet the Tyranid species is defined by its ability to adapt in the face of disaster. The timeless sentience of the hive mind has already developed new organisms and hunting patterns in the face of this peril. In the wake of its defeat at Baal, the remainder of Hive Fleet Leviathan launched a vast offensive along the southern border of the Segmentum Solar. As the Leviathan pushed ever further towards Holy Terra, Primarch Guilliman has dispatched dozens of newly founded Primaris Marine chapters to the front lines of the Third Tyrannic War. The horror, this abomination, has thought and purpose which functions on an unimaginable galactic scale. All we can do is try to stop the swarms of bioengineered monsters it unleashes upon us by instinct. We have given the horror a name to salve our fears. We call it the Tyranid race. But if it is aware of us at all, it must know us only as prey. As the tendrils of the hive mind reach ever deeper into our galaxy, one question remains. Can humanity stand against the endless hunger of the great devourer, or are we destined to become mere morsels in its cosmic feast? In the vast expanse of the cosmos, a ravenous force consumes all in its path. With each passing century, it advances deeper into our realm, leaving naught but barren, lifeless worlds in its wake. This horror, this abomination, possesses a consciousness that operates on an unimaginable, galactic scale. Our feeble attempts to halt its advance are met with swarms of bioengineered monstrosities unleashed upon us by instinct alone. We have given this terror a name to soothe our fears. We call it the Tyranid race, but if it acknowledges our existence at all, it surely regards us as nothing more than prey. The Tyranids are an extragalactic species, born in the unfathomable void between the galaxies of the local group. They traverse the cosmos in massive hive ships, colossal organisms genetically engineered to survive the vacuum of space. These living vessels move in formations reminiscent of Terran locust swarms, each one a world unto itself, teeming with countless lesser Tyranid organisms gestating within its pulsating organ sacs. Every creature aboard these titanic bioships exists solely to serve the greater entity that is the hive ship. And each hive ship, in turn, is but a single cell in the vast organism. That is the hive fleet. These fleets move in fluid, ever-changing formations known as tendrils, seeking out nearby inhabited worlds to devour. After consuming all biological and organic material on a planet, they breed prodigiously, often multiplying their numbers many times over. When a Tyranid hive fleet descends upon a prey world, it does not invade for territorial gain or out of some misguided sense of pride or vengeance. Indeed, it is doubtful that the Tyranid hive mind can even comprehend such notions. Their sole purpose is to harvest precious biomass and sat their insatiable hunger. The Tyranids require an endless supply of sustenance, not only to nourish their vast fleets, but to spawn new organisms. Thus, when a hive fleet invades a world rich in life, every action of every Tyranid creature is honed to a single, terrifying goal: the total and rapid absorption of that world's organic population, ecosystems, and bio. To achieve this end, the hive fleet creates armies with the express purpose of overcoming the prey world's defenders before stripping it of every last scrap of biomatter. These armies are composed of creatures specifically evolved to meet the challenges of each world they encounter, a testament to the Tyranids' unparalleled ability to adapt and overcome. Hive fleets travel at speeds beyond that of light, though they never enter the warp as other species do. Instead, they manipulate the gravity fields of star systems using the specialized psychic abilities of a selectively evolved hive ship known as a untold. The sheer psychic presence of the Tyranid hive mind, however, manifests itself in real space through the terrifying phenomenon known as the shadow in the warp. The current collection of Tyranid hive fleets has migrated to our galaxy, the Milky Way, presumably after overpopulating or overfeeding in other nearby galaxies of the local group. The fact that each of the different hive fleets has approached our galaxy from a different direction implies a disturbing truth: that the Tyranids may have already consumed an unthinkably large number of nearby galaxies. Among the most infamous of these hive fleets is Hive Fleet Behemoth, led by its monstrous hive tyrant. The sight of Behemoth's forces attacking en masse is enough to break the will of even the most stalwart defenders. Millions of chitinous forms darken the skies and churn the earth, their singular purpose to devour all in their path. The Tyranids are a spaceborne plague that has wormed its way into the realms of mankind and other Xenos species alike, spreading like a disease through a healthy body. Their hive fleets consist of millions of biomechanical craft. Each one hosts to an untold number of symbiotic organisms. These creatures evolve and spawn from a variety of genoorganisms within the ship's reproductive chambers, born to service the needs of the ship, which in turn exists only to service the needs of the hive fleet. Unlike other armies that fight for conquest, self-defense, or mere violence, the Tyranid hive fleets are driven by the will of the hive mind. This vast consciousness is motivated by the most primal instinct, inherent to all life forms, reproduction. And through reproduction and the acquisition of new genetic traits, evolution to a better adapted form. A fully mobilized Tyranid hive fleet strikes terror into the hearts of even the most battle-hardened defenders of humanity. Even when the Xenos threat is eliminated at great cost, it is only a matter of time before another Tyranid migration emerges to exploit the situation. This is what makes the Tyranid species such a dire threat. They are an evolved metapredator capable of outproducing, outconsuming, and outlasting all other species they encounter. Having done so on a disquietingly unknowable number of prior occasions across a vast swath of intergalactic space. At the heart of every Tyranid invasion is the hive mind, a gestalt consciousness that binds every Tyranid creature into a single, unfathomable entity. The Magos biologists of the Imperium categorizes each Tyranid hive fleet as a separate force, an individual entity that competes with other hive fleets for resources. Each appears self-sufficient, exhibiting different strategies and developing unique creatures to overcome its prey. However, the truth is far more complex and terrifying. Each hive fleet is but a splinter of one greater assemblage, a single tentacle of a cosmic leviathan whose full form defies comprehension. The Tyranids' numbers are vast beyond counting, their swarms so large that they blot out the very stars. Yet each and every creature is but a single cell in the living body of a single superorganism. Every thought and action, every spark of life in the Tyranid species is bound and interlinked into a single unfathomable consciousness, a great entity that stretches across hundreds of light years of space. This gestalt sentience, known as the hive mind, holds all Tyranids in a psychic bond that enables them to act together in perfect unison. Under the influence of this ancient consciousness, the Tyranids have fed on countless planets and devoured intelligent civilizations since time immemorial. The majority of Tyranid organisms have no distinct minds, as a human would understand it, having been created to perform a single task to the exclusion of all else, unless the implacable will of the hive mind instructs them to do otherwise. These organisms simply fulfill the functions for which they were created, acting on nothing more than instinct. Larger, more complex Tyranid bioforms have been grown to make limited decisions appropriate to current stimuli and situations. But even these actions are subordinate to the goals of the hive mind. The hive mind's influence is strongest in the vicinity of creatures such as Tyranid warriors and the feared hive tyrants. These beings are able to communicate with their kin, not through language, but by a synaptic form of telepathy through which they relay and channel the will of the hive mind. Under the command of such creatures, the Tyranids operate in perfect unison, slaved to the psychic imperatives of a single communal intelligence. Should these synapse creatures be slain, the link between individual creatures and the hive mind will be severed. Many of the lesser organisms will revert to their baser, animalistic behaviors. For this reason, the Tyranid swarms do not have only a single commander, but many. to ensure the hive mind's synaptic control is maintained across the entire Tyranid species. As we gaze into the void, we can only wonder at the true extent of the Tyranid threat. How many galaxies have already fallen to their insatiable hunger? How many civilizations, perhaps as advanced as our own, have been reduced to nothing more than biomass to feed the endless swarm? The Tyranids are more than just an alien invasion. They are a force of nature, a cosmic horror that threatens not just our worlds, but our very existence as a species. In the face of such an implacable foe, we can only stand united, for divided, we shall surely fall, consumed by the endless hunger of the hive mind.